Hey there. Sued by the Debt Collector, the podcast is designed for people that are facing debt collection lawsuits and plan to represent themselves but need some how to information. Our podcast provides education, we share stories, and have special guest interviews to help people through their situation. Don't forget, we focus on rebuilding our community financially and emotionally. And you can catch our episodes every Wednesday we drop. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast channel. Now, if this is your first time joining us, thank you so much for joining us and coming in to be a part of our community. And I'm going to ask you right now if you could just click that follow button. The more people that we get to follow, the more downloads we have, the more awareness we can create so that less people know that we're here, we're just not going to be able to serve the people that we need. So your participation is free. Just click that button. And if you are already part of the community, welcome back. This is Terri Jordan Adams, and I am your host of Sued by the Debt Collector, the podcast. And so in today's episode, what we're going to talk about is being caught off guard by the debt collector. Okay? Being caught off guard by the debt collector. In addition, we're going to talk about what you can do to foil their plan A after their attempt to set you up for failure. Okay, what's their plan A? Their plan A is a default judgment. So we want to make sure that you have full understanding of what your responsibility is so that you can win your case. Okay, and right now we are in the final moments of 2021. Oh my God, I can't believe this year is already gone. It's insane. um, well, we've made it through the holidays, and we spent a lot of money, and we ate a lot of food, and we gained a lot of pounds. But the beauty of it is we can do a reset at the beginning of the year. I certainly hope that you had a fabulous holiday season, and of course, we're looking for many more. This year, what we did is I live in Southern California. My sister lives back in Massachusetts on Martha's Vineyard. I'm originally from the East Coast. So our family planned to have Thanksgiving on the vineyard. So it was really, really, really nice. It was a time to relax. I don't get to relax very often. So I was able to just enjoy the family and just really take advantage of the moment. So yay, yay. Anyway, so with that being said, now before we move forward, I want to tell you that this episode is being sponsored by our very own online course, S.A.P. S.A.P stands for Sued Acceleration Program. And what this program is designed to do is it's designed to help people that have been sued by the debt collector but are short on time, and they still need to respond to their lawsuit to avoid a default judgment. And so we actually, out of necessity, out of speaking to some of our clients and some of our customers and some of our community, we created this program to help them to get through the process. Because as you know, we are self-represented experts. Okay, all of you know, oh maybe not, maybe you don't know. I was sued by debt collectors, and I represented myself, and I won all three, yes, three of my cases. And I actually was able to document and develop courses to help you go through the same process that I went so that you can also win, have your cases dismissed, or otherwise definitely give you options. So again, our course, it's called S.A.P, Suit Acceleration Program. And if you go to our bio and Instagram, you can click on that and you will be able to enroll in the course. It does launch on January 1st, though. So just give me like a day and a half and it'll be available for you. But I want to make sure to let you know that this episode is sponsored that and it's kind of appropriate. It's not our full course. Our full course has a lot more information on it, but this is our emergency course because I had to figure out how to be able to help people that were just short on time. So anyway, without further ado, let's get busy and we're going to talk about being caught off guard by the debt collector. So I'm going to start with a story. Last year, take my glasses off. Last year, I was on the phone with my friend, and my friend Selena, and we were talking, and she knew I was doing my research and my homework for the different people that were being sued by the debt collectors, and lo and behold, I saw a pattern. I recognized a pattern after pattern after pattern, and what was happening is these debt buyers were suing the consumers right before the holiday. Oh my gosh. It was absolutely heartbreaking. So, and then let's just add insult to injury. Last year was COVID. And so, with COVID being present, the courts were closed. With the courts being closed, the debt buyers could still, okay, let me change that. The courts did not give public access. So the courts were still open and the debt buyers, they just automatically file everything electronically anyway. So they were filing the lawsuits. Then they were serving the consumers full well knowing that the consumers didn't have same typical access to the courts that they should have in order to respond to their lawsuits. Well, I watched one in particular. They served the people on December 22nd, 3 days before Christmas. Well, can you imagine what that did for them during the holiday season? Undoubtedly, it, gave them anxiety. Undoubtedly, just a whole level of stress. Undoubtedly, they, kind of felt some type of guilt because of the amount of money that was spent on the holidays. On the holidays, you spend money. You just do. You buy a ton of gifts for your family and friends. You spend money on food and events but that's really what it's designed for you to have a good time with your family and your friends. That's what it's designed for. And here's the trick. The debt buyers know that they're going to catch you off guard on the holidays because that's not your focus. So what do? They serve you during the holidays knowing that you're going to put it off and say, you know what, I can't even deal with this right now. I will deal with this at the beginning of the year. But here's the problem with that. In California, when you've been served by the debt buyer, you have 30 days to respond to your lawsuit. You have 30 days to get it filed with the court, your response. And if you don't, you end up with a default judgment. We know that their plan A is the default judgment, okay? Just a reminder, what is a default judgment? And I will tell you this every single time until I drive this home, because if you can foil their plan A, then the likelihood of them winning the case goes from like 90% down to like 20%, 25%, maybe. But really, I think it's less than that because they win 9 out of 10 cases on default judgment because the consumers don't show up or they attempt to represent themselves without knowledge on how to do that, which is what we do. Sued by the debt collector. This is what we do. We show you how to represent yourself. And anyway, so they win 9 out of 10 cases because either the consumer doesn't show up or they don't know how to defend themselves. The consumers tend to show up emotionally and, because we are victims. We are victims to unlawful practices. And it's reasonable that we feel this way, but it's not going to win your case. Anyway, so these debt buyers are fully aware of what they need to do to win their default judgments. They know during the holidays, the consumers are not going to want to mentally even deal with it. Even under normal circumstances, they don't want to deal with it. But during the holidays, it just becomes paralysis for the consumer. I just can't even deal with this right now. And so they put it off until the end, to the beginning of the year. And what happens? They run out of time, end up with a default judgment. Okay. So the debt buyers, they know this. Okay. And then another thing that they know is that you're going to be emotional about it. You're going to be emotional, and you're not going to address the situation. So their goal is to get you to waste time. So as you're wasting time in California, if you've got 30 days to respond to your lawsuit, and let's say it's the 22nd, you've got 9 days left in this year. And then the remaining 30 days ends up being on January 21st. Well, what's the problem with that? Now you've lost 9 days to be able to respond to your lawsuit. Well, good news is you can still get the job done, especially with us being advocates. We can show you how to get through the process much easily. Just simplify the process for you. We have templates, and we have strategies to show you and just take the stress off of you, and so that you can get to the place where you're not faced with a default judgment. Okay, that's with 21 days. But what if you're in a different state? What if you're in a different jurisdiction or province or country? What if you're in a different place? Some places only have 15 days to respond. Well, if you've been served and you have 15 days to respond, and you lost those 9 days at the end of the year, that leaves you with 6 days. Now, that's pressure. Can it be done? It can. But for that exact reason, we created the S.A.P program. Okay. But ideally, we don't want to be in that position. We want to put ourselves in a position where we're not being reactive, we're actually being proactive. Because as long as we're proactive, it will alleviate the stress, a lot of stress. It'll allow us to think more clearly. We'll be able to devise strategies. We'll know how to assess the lawsuit properly that was served on us for its legitimacy. So there is reason to this. Okay, I'm gonna put on my glasses. Now, let's talk about their plan A, and again, it's a default judgment. Default judgment, what does that look like? That looks like if you don't respond to your lawsuit in the allotted time given. In California, it's 30 days from the time you've been served. Georgia could be something else. Arizona could be something else. The Netherlands can be something else. So you have to know your own jurisdiction and what that looks like. Okay. But that default judgment, they can garnish your wages. They can raid your bank account, and they can put liens on your property. Okay. That's a whole another level of crazy. You don't even want to have to deal with that. So we ideally, our goal is to only always avoid that, foil their plan A, reduce their ability to win, get the case dismissed. That's what we're looking for. But with that being said, let's say they get a default judgment against you. Well, what does that look like? Well, if they get a default judgment against you, do you realize that default judgments can last as long as 10 years? 10 years is a long time. And here's the bummer. Once you get a default judgment, and let's say it goes the distance of the 10 years or whatever that time frame is, they can actually petition the judge to renew the default order, and the judge will do it. And so now that 10 years turns to 20 years or however long it takes to pay off the debt. So you don't even want to deal with that. Let's just avoid that. Let's show up. Let's respond to the lawsuit, and let's, put our best foot forward, because we can win on your cases. Okay, so um, if you've been sued, regardless of when the time is, whether it's pre-holiday, on the holiday, before the holiday, after the holiday, no holiday, it doesn't matter. The first thing you need to do, there's three things you need to do. I say three. There's three things you need to do. You have to assess your situation. Okay, I don't care if you're about to sit down for Christmas dinner or whatever. By assessing your situation, it will give you peace of mind. Okay, because at least you know what to look for, know what to expect, and you know. So the first thing you need to look for is when you have to respond to the lawsuit. When. So if in California you have 30 days to respond, and it's the 22nd that you were served, 30 days later will be the 21st of January. Okay, so that's the first thing. So even if you continue on in your holiday and you're like, okay, I'm not even going to deal with this until the beginning of the year, you still have 21 days in the beginning of the year, and reasonably you can still avoid the default judgment. Okay, now there's still going to be a process, and that's why we have courses and resources, and let's not forget about the podcast that we give education. We give lots of education on our Instagram channel at Suited by the Debt Collector. So you have resources and tools to be able to help you through the process, which is great. 21 days is still a reasonable amount of time. But what if your jurisdiction says you have to respond in 15 days and you gave up 9 days in December? You've now got 6 days to get this done. Now, can it be done? Absolutely, it can be done. Can you do it by yourself? Not at that rate of speed. Well, you could. I guess, I'm not going to say that, you couldn't. However, it would benefit you to get some assistance, and that's what we do. So we can, even in 6 days, we can help you through that process. But at that point, you really, really have to stay disciplined. You have to put in the work. They're all self-paced programs, but we are here and we are a community. Our goal is to restore our community financially and emotionally. So it can be done. Okay. The second thing is to identify who's suing you. That's a huge one, because you may recognize the debt, you may recognize the amount, you may even recognize the original creditor, because a lot of times the debt buyer will name drop. Oh, this is the original creditor. But here's the thing, they do a lot of proclamation that says, hey, we own your debt and now you owe us. But they do not provide substantial or significant information to prove that that's actually true. So you got to know who's suing you. So even though you recognize the debt, you recognize the fact that they named the original creditor, but it could be somebody else. It could be Midland Funding. It could be LVNV. It could be Portfolio Recovery Services. Those are all debt buyers. And just because they say they bought the debt doesn't mean that they can prove it to be true. Okay, so one, you're identifying when you have to respond to the lawsuit. Two, you're identifying who's suing you. Okay, I have this thing where we can't even begin to get into negotiations until you prove to me that you have the right of ownership to collect on my debt. I don't have a relationship with you. And until we can just get through that part, we can't even get into negotiations because I don't have a contractual relationship with you. So, and that's so relevant, but that's an episode for another time. And number three, the third thing you want to check on the lawsuit is the statute of limitations. The statute of limitations, like I said, you may recognize the debt, they may name drop the original creditor, you may recognize the amount, all of that. In our state, in the state of California, they have 4 years to bring lawsuit. If they don't bring a lawsuit, then they cannot sue you. Huh. Okay. However, even though it says they cannot sue you, they still do. But they're in violation of the statute of limitations. But it's up to you to recognize that, and it's up to you to bring it to the judge's attention so he can dismiss the case. Okay? But if you don't, even if the judge recognizes it, he's not going to do it for you. So these are just some of the things that you really need to assess and make sure that you are aware of. Okay, so what's the goal? How do we block their attempt to put us at a disadvantage? How do we do that? How do we respond to them catching us off guard? One, we assess the situation. How do we do that? In assessing the situation, figure out when it's due, when your response is due. Two, you got to check for the statute of limitations. And three, you have to check to see who's actually suing you. Okay? And then four, how you snatch the rug from underneath them is by responding to the lawsuit on time. If you do not meet the deadline, I can say it 100 times, they are going to file a request for default judgment against you. The judge is going to grant it, and then now you've got Pandora's box. And we're trying to keep the lid on Pandora's box, right? So, with that being said, that was just kind of a bit of information about, the tactics that the debt collectors do, specifically in this case during the holidays, but it's part of their regular behavior. They perpetually violate the law. They perpetually misrepresent facts when they file the cases, and they perpetually will try to intimidate you. So you need to be aware of that. You need to be aware of that. You need to be aware of that. They are not your friends. Okay? They will file frivolous lawsuits, and they will do all they can to secure their plan A of getting a default judgment against you. However, we know how to defeat that. I'm very excited about that. So, what am I going to ask you to do? First and foremost, I am going to say that if you are in a position where you do need some help with your lawsuit, and you don't know where to turn, you can't afford an attorney, I was there, for sure I was there, and you don't know how to get through this process efficiently, simplistically, I don't know if that's a word, easily, and you need help, make sure you follow all things sued by the debt collector. Again, I'm going to say it again, all things sued by the debt collector. This is our podcast. Make sure you're following Sued by the Debt Collector podcast. You want to follow us. You want to like. You want to rate us 5. Rate us 5. 5. 5. And so the more ratings we get that are positive, the more exposure we get throughout the nation and throughout the world. 2, Sued by the Debt Collector on Instagram. Okay, and then you can click the link in the bio, and there's other tools and resources in there that you can gain access to, as well as we are building out our YouTube channel. We're not quite there yet, but it's coming very, very, very soon. But make sure you're doing all things Sued by the Debt Collector. And don't forget, if you need a consultation, text consult to 877 505-0618, and I will help you evaluate the condition of your case excuse me, and figure out where you're at, if you need help, to find out how much time you have, and maybe we come up with a plan so that we can make sure that you're successful in snatching that rug from underneath them. So again, this is Terri Jordan Adams. Thank you for joining us on Sued by the Debt Collector. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share Sued by the Debt Collector with everyone so that we can create awareness. We appreciate you being a part of the community. And in the upcoming episodes, there's a couple of things we're going to do. At the beginning of the year, we're going to do a financial reset so that we can kind of help you plan, get through some of the stresses of what happened in 2021. And then also on the 1st, we are dropping the S.A.P program. So we want to make sure that you're aware of that. And we're going to do a debt lawsuit walkthrough just so you have an idea of the processes and the stages of what this lawsuit looks like. And by no means are you to be defeated, because you have opportunities to win your lawsuits, just like I did. I won all 3 of my cases, and now I'm here to share this information with you. So anyway, thank you for joining us on Sued by the Debt Collector. We will see you on the next episode. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.